At Trinity Health System, we have a profound respect and awe for all creation. We are motivated by the words of Christ to be his hands and heart to those in need. Our doctors, nurses, and staff are driven by selfless performance, combining our expertise with the technology to bridge the gap to healthier communities. Healthcare isn't just about healing, it's about human dignity. Trinity Health System, inspired by faith, serving you with distinction.
It's week 7 of the high school football season here in the Upper Ohio Valley. My name's Matthew Peasley, a sports writer for the Herald-Star and the Weirton Daily Times. This is another edition of the Star Sportscast brought to you by Trinity Health System. We got another full slate of coverage this week, so you can check us out on Saturday morning with all the games actions. But before we get to those games, we're going to preview them right here in the Star Sportscast. First game we're going to talk about is Big Red, heading up to Youngstown to take on the Ursuline Fighting Irish at Stambaugh Stadium. Steubenville is 5-1 after last week's loss to Akron St. Vincent St. Mary, and Ursuline comes into this game with a 3-3 record. They had a convincing win in a shutout over a Canadian team last week, not Canada Prep, who is consistently one of the better teams that these strong teams in our area takes on each week. Ursuline was able to handle them pretty well and get back on track with a 3-3 record. Big Red last week had a real tough, hard-fought game down to the wire with Akron St. Vincent St. Mary. Kind of a bounce-back game for that Fighting Irish team from Akron. Hard-hitting, really good defense from Akron St. Vincent St. Mary's. Big Red was unable to get the ball moving how they wanted to in the first half, but were able to fight back and really were in that game until the final minutes. Javon Davis was the solo quarterback, passing the ball at least for Big Red this week or last week. He was 10 of 19 passing for 97 yards. Big Red was only able to get 43 rushing yards out of that. Just shows you how good that Akron St. Vincent St. Mary defense was. I think they had 2 or 3 Division I prospects on defense alone. They were hard hitting. They were getting into the backfield, really disrupting anything Steubenville wanted to do in that one. Conversely, St. Vincent St. Mary was pretty good, efficient on offense. They were able to get it down into Big Red territory, but then that's when the Steubenville defense stepped up and stopped them from putting more points on the board. But Akron St. Vincent St. Mary had 43 rushes for 249 yards, while their quarterback was 12 of 24 passing for 149 yards. But we look to this week. Big Red looks to bounce back, and I really like this quote from head coach Reno Sakoch last week, saying that he loves the kids so much, and if when they love him back, they're going to improve and bounce back from that one. And we're just going to see how they come out and respond, as any Big Red team would. I assume that this one is going to be another hard-fought, down-to-the-wire game. The series between Big Red and Ursuline is 9-4 with an advantage to Steubenville. But they've had some kind of topsy-turvy records this past few years. The last time Big Red went up to Ursuline and Youngstown Stambaugh Stadium, Ursuline had a convincing win, but Big Red was able to take 2 wins from the Fighting Irish last week, one in the regular season and one late in the playoffs. So it's kind of a new look for both teams this year. Ursuline's quarterback is Jared Fabry, who leads a kind of a balanced offense. They're going to run more than they pass, but he's solid at quarterback throwing the ball. Their 2 main running backs to stop are Dalen Harris and Joe Floyd. But Big Red's defense is always up for the task, and it's going to be back and forth up there, I assume, this week. Heading down to West Virginia now, number 9 in the Class AA standings. Weir, with a 5-1 record, heads to number 1, Fairmont Senior, with a 5-0 record. Fairmont Senior only has 9 games on their schedule this year, but 4 of those games are against Class AAA competition, whereas Fairmont's AA, just like Weir. The Red Riders are 5-1, bounced back last week with a nice win over Union Local, who was previously undefeated. So Weir has won 2 in a row now before they head to this tough battle down at Fairmont Senior. This year, Cody Henrietti is the player to stop for Weir, as we all know. He's got 100 yards rushing in all 6 of their games so far, and he's just 80 yards away from eclipsing the 1,000-yard mark. He's a Division I prospect. He's going to pick up some more offers as Weir improves on the season, and they feed him the ball more. They're trying to work the passing game better. Donovan Spencer has been hitting Dominic Murphy for some nice passes, whereas Spencer is one of the fastest guys in the state, and I'm sure he's going to show his speed down there with this tough task against Fairmont. Speaking of Fairmont Senior, the Polar Bears, they're led by quarterback Jake Abbott. 2 top running backs are Bryson Gilbert and Michael Toothman. But 2 of the players to look out for are their big offensive and defensive linemen, Darius Stills and Dante Stills, 2 guys with Division I looks, going to WVU, sons of Gary Stills, former WVU linebacker from the 1990s. So they've got that in the bloodline, and Fairmont Senior's got a good team this year. It's going to be tough for Weir, but if they stick to their game plan and do what they've done all year, they're definitely going to give the Polar Bears a run this week. Next game, Indian Creek at Martins Ferry. Indian Creek improved to 5-1 on the year with a 21-14 win at Brooke last week. They ran the ball a lot, 53 times for 243 yards. Robert Coppa had 3 touchdown runs. We're looking at Martins Ferry now. Dalton Hoover is their main guy to stop. He's their quarterback who will run the ball a lot and throw the ball when he can. Martins Ferry ran the ball 53 times last week, too. They were playing East Liverpool, and a big win for the Purple Riders in that one. Next game, Bellsville at Toronto. Bellsville is 0-6. Toronto is 5-1 and ranked number 6 in the Division 7 Region 25 standings. So a win here in convincing style is probably what's going to happen for Toronto and Eric Meek's team there. They ran the ball a lot last week in a convincing win over Connaughton Valley. They had 11 players touch the ball on offense. Max Tice led the way with 70 rushing yards. Whereas last week, Bellsville lost to Cleveland Lutheran East. And Lutheran East is a familiar name, maybe, because they're coming to Weirton next week to take on Madonna. So they actually, we'll talk more about them next week, but Lutheran East has a solid team, as we could see with their shutout win over Connaughton Valley last week. One of the more ideal matchups this week now, 2 even teams, 3-3 records, Harrison Central at Edison. Harrison Central is coming off a loss against St. Clairsville, where Edison's coming in this with a lot of confidence after a down-to-the-wire win over Glen last week. Unfortunately for Harrison Central, they lost their top running back, sophomore Tyler West, early in that game against St. Clairsville, so they kind of had to adjust a little bit. And as head coach Justin Kropka said, they had to find new ways to win. So their main running back now is Damon Carpenter. He ran for 61 yards last week against St. Clairsville. Jesse Ball, one of the bigger rushers in the coverage area, runs the ball about 16 to 20 times a game. So they're going to be getting the bulk of the carries this week against Edison. Edison is still going to run the ball, and that's where they found their success this year. Their win last week, they had 54 rushes for 289 yards. They opened the scoring with a Seth Cade 44-yard touchdown run, and then they capped the scoring with River Pappas's game-winning touchdown run, 39 yards for a score late there in the fourth quarter to secure the win over Glen. Speaking of Glen, they got their rivalry this week with East Liverpool. Glen's going to host this game and at their nice facility up in New Manchester. Last week, they fought Edison down to the wire and were actually leading in that game for much of the second half. Dakota Price led with 83 rushing yards. Lance Collins added 57. Both of these teams, East Liverpool and Glen, are both 1-5 on the year. Next game, 2 Catholic schools heading at each other. Bishop Donahue heads to Steubenville Catholic Central on Saturday. Central was 1-5. They lost last week to Bel Air, 34-13, and they've now lost 4 in a row. So they definitely want to get this one back against Bishop Donahue, who's 5-1 on the year. Bishop Donahue actually has 3 shutout victories this season, including last week over Hannon. Catholic Central's kind of doing some new things. on their offense. They've had to deal with the bulk of injuries too. Noah Fayek took over the main quarterback duties last week, and he threw 20 times. Justin Hartzell was able to see some playing time coming off of an injury, so they're going to have to adjust. And if they want to get back on the winning things and maybe finish the season with 4 wins to close out the year with a respectable record. Another team we got here, Buckeye Local, with an 0-6 record, heads to Beaver Local, who is 2-4. That game's on Friday night. Now we have 2 more games to talk about, and both of these teams from our area are heading down to Parkersburg. Madonna, 0-5, is going to Parkersburg Catholic, who has a 3-2 record with wins over Ritchie County, Wirt County, and Valley Wetzel. And Brooke is also going down to Parkersburg. They play Parkersburg South. Brooke is 0-6 after last week's loss to Indian Creek. Alex Edgel had 46 rushing yards, and Logan Williams passed for 96 yards. They were in that game till the very end, but Indian Creek did just enough to keep Brooke still winless at 0-6. Parkersburg South is 2-4. Their wins are over John Marshall and Vincent Warren. That's our rundown for this week. Hopefully you're heading out to go to one of these great games we have on our schedules this week, and be sure to catch all of our high school football and high school sports coverage all fall season long in the Herald-Star and the Weirton Daily Times in print and online. Hey everybody, it's week.
No!
I'm saying hey everybody.
Almost.
Can you see the footballs? Done.